Hey there. Today, we're talking about a critical distinction that could completely transform your business. The difference between your sales pipeline and your sphere of influence. Now, I spent years building CRMs, coaching professionals, and even wrote a book on relationship development. And this confusion is one of the most common mistakes I see. Last year, I was working with a talented BD professional who was frustrated because her network really just wasn't generating business. And when we looked at how she was managing her relationships, it actually became pretty clear. She was treating just every single person she met like they needed to immediately move through her sales funnel. If they weren't ready to buy, she would basically just ghost them and move on. No wonder, of course, I'm telling you this, her network wasn't working. So here's the thing. A sales pipeline and your sphere of influence are fundamentally different animals, right? Mixing them up is like using your best dishes to feed your dog, right? Yeah, it's possible, but completely missing the point of both, right? Your sales pipeline is linear, right? A straight line or a funnel designed to move people from prospect to closed deal as efficiently as possible, right? It's about qualification, next steps, and driving towards that transaction, right? A funnel is the same way, right? Think of it like as a conveyor belt with a clear beginning and an end. Your sphere of influence, on the other hand, is a whirlpool of relationships you maintain over time, potentially forever. There's no rush to convert these people. At my last company, yeah, we did have a massive Salesforce instance that was tracking thousands of opportunities, but I, as the founder, also maintained my own separate CRM just for tracking relationships with interesting people I met at conferences or industry events, right? People that, again, weren't necessarily ready to buy or may not necessarily buy forever, but they could become an introduction. They could be a customer at some point in the future. The psychology here matters, right? When you're in pipeline mode, you're thinking, what can I get this person to buy right now? But in sphere mode, you're thinking, hey, how can we help each other and work together over the long term? The problem is that most professionals, right, even seasoned ones, make, I think, the catastrophic mistake of treating everyone as a lead who needs to be qualified or disqualified immediately. When someone isn't ready to buy, well, they just get mentally tossed aside. This burns bridges faster than, I don't know, like a pyromaniac at a wooden bridge convention or something like that. How to actually manage this distinction? Here are 3 practical tactics that I've seen work personally. First, I want you to maintain separate systems. Your CRM for active sales opportunities is different from your relationship management tool. At a minimum, obviously think about just creating separate tags or categories in the same tool if you want to, right? I personally use different tools entirely, right? I use Trello to manage my pipeline and Relatable for my sphere. Second, change how you evaluate relationships. For pipeline contacts, ask how likely are they to buy soon? But for sphere contacts, ask, could this relationship be valuable to either of us over the next 5 years? That's it. Listen, if yes, maintain it regardless of immediate opportunity. Third, think about adjusting your follow-up approach. Instead of, to paraphrase it, are you ready to buy yet messages, send, value-focused messages to your sphere. Hey, Sarah, saw this article about the challenge you mentioned with remote team management. Just thought of you immediately. No need to respond, just hope it's helpful. Let's actually make this concrete. Compare these 2 follow-ups. Pipeline approach. Hi, Tom. Checking in to see if you've made a decision about our proposal. Do you have budget approval yet? Sphere approach. Hey, Tom, was just thinking about that cybersecurity challenge you mentioned at the conference. I just connected you with someone doing some fascinating work in that space. Happy to introduce if it would be helpful. Either way, hope you're doing well. As you kind of see, the difference is night and day. So here's your immediate next step. Go through your contact list and think about identifying at least 5 people who you've been treating as, dead leads in some way or the other, right? Who could or should actually be in your sphere of influence. Reach out to them with something just genuinely useful. no strings attached. Even if it's just say, hey, you know what? I just thought of you this morning. Hope all is well. Or hey, was in your neighborhood, was in your area. Just hope you're having a great week so far. Remember, your sphere of influence is an asset you build over decades. People will move between your sphere and your pipeline organically when the timing is right, but only if you maintain those relationships with a long view in mind. I made a practice of this after lots of trial and error of making sure I maintained all these strategic relationships in my sphere of influence. And yes, of course, if someone hinted that they were ready to buy or transact in some way, yes, of course, then that became a sales opportunity that we create. And then we would manage the two side by side, right? My salespeople would be managing the sales relationship, and then I would still make sure I'm managing the relationship overall. Listen, after all, business is ultimately about people, not transactions. So maybe it's time we treat it that way.